Well, we got all sorts of ideas for managing insects, and most of them were environmental in the early days. They recognized this fact. S.A. Forbes was one of the first to recognize the fact that you wouldn't have chinch bug in Illinois if we didn't have a large amount of wheat and corn growing here. That's an economic pest. It was all over a while because the prairie vegetation was full of insects of one sort or another, but it was particularly full of chinch bugs everywhere. I used to demonstrate these on my field trip in bionomics in my class. I have a picture, which some of them don't care for, but looking for the things in the wintertime, you got to get down and smell them. In the bunch grass, you can locate chinch bugs where you don't have to see them. You just have to learn how to examine them by that means. But a class with the behind end stuck up in the air out in the prairie, a strange-looking sight to people not used to that sort of thing. I had a lady there from Ceylon, and she took a dim view of that particular attitude, and so she'd sit down for all of her examinations. Entomology began to receive stimulation monetarily, and departments of entomology were established. This is one of the older things. Do you remember what year, maybe Bob does, do you remember what year entomology came online? Not as a department, I know that was in 22, but before that.
1874.
In 1874. S.A. Forbes was the first one to teach this.
You know, there was a course in Burrow or...
Yes, well, he was
the guy that
he was a kind of a horticulturist or a generalized agriculturist anyway.
The first course was scheduled in 1874.
1874. There is a history of this department that W.P. Hayes, former head of this department, wrote. I don't know whether it's around and available or not, but we keep copies of that around.
It's over in the library, Bill. And
it is?
File over in the library.
I would recommend that to you because you ought to know the history of this place within limits. We've got a rogues gallery of the heads of departments in the front office. Maybe you've seen those pictures. You make it up there one day. We're all going to gather around. I better move along here. It'll be tomorrow. The entomology was well established as a subject matter by the early part of this century. It was then insects do or die. You learned about insects from one end to the other and all about them. I never will forget a course they called ecology that I took at Cornell, and all it was going out and catching these bugs and drawing pictures of them. I drew 500 pictures of different kinds of insects. However, you learn a lot about insects doing that, I'll have to say that, and we did. But that's again then and now, those things have changed, and change, I think, is probably in that case to the good. A change that came on entomology, however, with World War II. Unfortunately, World War II produced a toxicant called DDT. And when I remember in 1950 going to one of the national meetings, and you couldn't hear anything but up and down the hall, have you tried DDT yet? It didn't matter why you wanted to try it, have you? And I also remember in 1946 making a statement to an entomological friend of mine, and I expected to live to see the day that I regretted that we would regret bringing DDT online. Now, I didn't think we'd go as crazy as we did, but we did away with it in total. But DDT was not because of the toxicant, but what we did to it. That's a whole story in itself. And of course what it did to nature when we did it to the DDT. But there was a time when you couldn't get a job in entomology in the 1950s. You can remember those days when it was all, if you weren't going to an insecticide manufacturing concern, you didn't get a job. Period. Everybody was sitting here drawing a salary of $3,000 a year and sending people out fresh out of graduate school into academics at $6,000. That doesn't sound like a lot of money to you nowadays, but it's a lot more than I was making. that's some of the now that's beginning to creep into things. Then the great overweening use of toxicants in the field brought on a whole new field of antitoxicants. And we've gone as crazy in that direction as we went in the direction of the toxicants. Now the word chemically was the word everything was attached to chemistry once. And now the word chemical, at least in connection with insects, is anathema. If you have anything good to say about chemicals, there's something the matter with you. It's not good. That again is a matter of our tendency to evolve our comprehensions. And everybody goes through this. It's one of the unhandy things about being young. All that's young want to make everything change, and all of us that are old don't want to change anything. So you see we're constantly wanting things, and if you're a biologist, you've got to agree to change. It does happen. Well, the now has gone still farther in this business now, to the point that we've almost got to the point that if you aren't chasing atoms and genes or chromosomes or something of that sort, you're not doing anything. So insects have quit being a thing in themselves. In other words, study insects because they're insects. Now you use insects as examples to find out something else, about something more minute, like chromosomes and genes. I guess they're minute, I don't remember. There was a time in the USDA, I'll go backtrack again, because I think it's most important to have background as to why you do what you do. We do what we do because of the situation that we find ourselves in. When I came as a rookie into entomology, there were 4 bureaus in the USDA in Washington. Entomology was one of the 4. There is no entomological section in the USDA at the present time, and entomology has been fragmented to the point that it's in a whole bunch of other things. Because it's the functional aspect that we are now concerned with, not the taxonomic or for the teaching purposes, it's totally unbalanced. But this is the way it has come to be. And I can remember when they had USDA, a big fight between USDA and the Public Health Service about these arthropods that attack human beings. If you worked on a tick, you had to be in the USDA. If you worked on mosquitoes, you had to be in the Public Health Service. Now, you might be working on mosquitoes affecting animals, but that wouldn't put you in the USDA. That would put you out of business, because if you weren't working on humans in the Public Health Service, you didn't get to first base with it. Then the grant system came on. Oh boy, that turned things all around, because people quit being interested in the insects and got interested in the dollars that are associated with them, and then how to get them. And all of you are up against that. I'm not telling you anything. It's not new to you. This importance of grant system. And now you can't get a job if you don't bring a grant with you, and that's even worse. And that's taught the administrators a bunch of bad habits. They can get money for nothing. Let you go earn it. I don't want to start on administrators.